I think it's a reassuring step, but I think it's hard not to look very closely at it. Saudi Arabia is the OPEC kingpin. They're the #1 producer within OPEC, and it would be hard not to really focus on every move they make and every word ultimately that comes out of the kingdom.
And we can't view the situation in isolation either. I mean, it is a big part of what is going on with Iran and the U.S. approach to Iran with the resumption of sanctions just around the corner now. Even before the geopolitical concerns around Saudi Arabia, there were questions as to how much Saudi really could step up in the way of output to offset the supply from Iran. What are your expectations here?
There are expectations that Iranian exports will fall to a significant level. Analysts at S&P Global Platts forecast that exports could fall to about 1.4 million barrels a day, and that's significantly down from the 2.8 that we saw earlier this year. And the question really is, if Saudi Arabia steps up, who else is able to step up as well?
And we take a look about what's actually happening in the markets over the last couple of weeks. It seems as if the oil markets really weren't reacting to the fact that we're just a couple of days away now from sanctions taking place with Iran, that we're in the awkward position, frankly, of potential sanctions over the death of Jamal Khashoggi as well. It doesn't seem as if oil is reacting at the moment. But if you take a step back and look at this longer term, obviously this has major implications for regional security, what happens in the next few days. Certainly we're going to be waiting and watching to hear from President Erdogan as he is expected to release what he knows, potentially, about the disappearance and death of Mr. Khashoggi. But this does have potentially major implications for the regional stability. How do you play that?
I think it definitely does. I think it's not just Saudi Arabia as well. We have other countries around the region that are looking very closely at how this situation will develop. We still have the embargo on Qatar by Saudi Arabia and the UAE. That's ongoing. We also have issues around Venezuelan oil production, which continues to decline. There's questions really, I think, very closely watching what's going to happen with US crude oil production, what's going to happen with Russian crude production and Saudi crude production. Those are the big three. They're the ones to watch right now. The game changer really is that US is now a major exporter of crude oil, and that wasn't the situation we had a couple of years ago. So forecasts are there that US crude production and exports are going to rise. How much of that will be able to offset the Iranian sanctions? We'll wait and see.
I think it's very interesting that of the two voices that we've heard out of Saudi Arabia in the last several days, it's been the foreign minister, Adel al-Jubeir, who's been a very, very easy choice, I suppose, in the last several years, particularly since 9/11, when it comes to being a spokesman for the kingdom, but also, of course, Khalid al-Fallah, who has become yet another very steady and cerebral voice speaking for the interests of the kingdom, but also for global oil markets. When you take a step back and look at this situation a little bit more broadly, do you think that Saudi Arabia is going to continue to be the moderating factor, not just with the OPEC, but also globally?
I think they have to, as the #1 OPEC producer. They have that role. They understand the role that they have. They need to reassure the market, because ultimately if flat prices do rally, that doesn't help them in the long term. That could lead to demand destruction. So the moderate, balanced, calm approach really helps everyone around.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.